Hello, I am that one guy. This is your geometry quiz number 12. We're talking about sections 10.2, 10.3, 10.4. 10.4? So, okay, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Number 1 and 2, we're using 45, 45, 90 triangle theorem and rules and everything like that. And just to help you recall, with the 45, 45, 45, so it means we've got a triangle, has to be a right triangle, okay? Two angles are going to be equal because they're 45s, okay? So that means this side, according to theorem, is always going to be x, and this side will be x. The hypotenuse is going to be always x radical 2, okay? So keeping that in mind, we're talking about number 1, all right? And show all your work here. Don't like to show your work. All right, we are to figure out the value of x in number 1. So again, remember, since these two angles are the same, that means these two legs would be the same. So this would also be 11. Now, using that little theorem over here that I just talked about, how could you figure out what the value of x is? Okay, so you just basically take the side and add radical 2 to it, see what happens. Similar here with number 2. All right, this side again should also be x, and we want to figure out what the side is. You want to set up an equation, okay? So it's going to look a little something like this. All right, we're going to say the leg, which is x, is what we're trying to figure out. We've got to multiply him by radical 2 and then set him equal to radical 26. Okay, so again, they're multiplying here. You got to get x by itself. Okay, so think about it. If you're multiplying by radical 2 over here, we need to move him over. What operation do we do to move the radical 2 over? You solve for x. Now, these next couple we're talking about 30, 60, 90 triangles. And if they look something like this, again, it has to be a right. All right, you've got the short leg. The other leg is twice as long, which is 2x. The hypotenuse is always going to be the short leg times radical 3. All right, so that's kind of your base that you're going to use to figure that out. All right, and we may use some Pythagorean theorem here. Okay, it just kind of depends on the problem. So looking at number 3, they want to solve for both x and for y. So take a look at your angles. Okay, this is obviously going to be the 90. This one's the 60. They just gave that to you. It's written right there. So that means this one has to be 30. Now, the shortest side is always opposite the shortest angle. So this is going to be the short side here. So like in that example that I just gave you in the theorem, that's x. And that means this side over here is going to be the next longest side, which is 2x. This would be x radical 3 if we were labeling the parts of the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay? So in order to do this, guys, we want to set up our equations. Let's start with the shorter side, the x. And we're just going to say, okay, x, in order to get him to the radical, or to the hypotenuse, we multiplied by radical 3, right? And then they tell us since that side is 36, we're going to set it up like that. All right? Now, you just solve for x from there. So they're multiplying by radical 3. What do? Then once you find the value of x right here, then just plug him in right there, and that'll help you find out the y. Okay? So that's how we do number 3. Okay, number 4 is kind of a combination of 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45 right triangles. Okay, so we know that this is going to be a right angle here. Since these two guys are the same, we know that those are 45s. All right. And we also know that since they gave us 30 degrees here, that means this guy here's got to be 60. So we just got to remember our rules of those two triangles, okay? So this leg is going to be equal to this leg here on the 45 triangle because of these two angles. Opposite angles, if they're congruent, the sides are also going to be equal, okay? So now if you remember the rules from the 45, 45, 90 triangle, so if you notice over here they already labeled this as 7, which means this side here should also be 7. And remember, in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, these two legs are equal, which we have here, 7 and 7, and then this guy's just x radical 2. So just take your side and add radical 2, should give you your x, right? Now over here for the y, okay, remember you got the shortest leg is opposite the smallest angle, so that's going to be the 7. So this would be the next biggest, which is going to be 2 times x, and then this side's always x radical 3. So in order to figure out what y is, all right, all you got to do is look at this was your x side, okay, so plug that 7 in for x, now give you the y. Add your radical 3 to it. Okay, number 5, we're talking about tangent. Now remember guys, tangent is always equal to opposite over adjacent. And it's good to label the parts of your triangle. So number 5, it's tangent of A as a decimal rounded to 4 decimal places. So this is our reference angle. So we're going from A, so this is the opposite. This would be the adjacent. Okay. So we're just going to set this up as tangent of A equals the opposite over the adjacent. And then round that to the 4 decimal places. So it's going to be like, for example, 2.43275. Rounded here, look at this guy to tell you whether to go up to an 8 or stay a 7. Okay, number 6, we're using tangent to find x. Now we're figuring out the actual side. Here's your reference angle since they're giving us 40 to us, okay? So opposite over adjacent. So tangent of 40 equals x over 8. Now to help you get started solving this, I would need to multiply, since that's divided by 8, I'd multiply by 8 to both sides. That'll help cancel those out. Then, so you're going to take 8 times tangent of 40, that'll help you find your x. And your last problem on this quiz. So, want to solve find an x. Again, if this is the given side, so there's your angle, there's your opposite, the 12 over the adjacent, so we're finding the adjacent side in this one. So tangent of 25 equals the opposite 12 over the adjacent, which is x. Now again, to start this, you can't just move the 12, you got to move the bottom number. That's 12 divided by x, so we multiply by x to both sides. Alright, and then you got to finish solving from there. Okay, so then you're going to have x times tangent of 25 equals 12. And now you finish solving that from there. Alright, hopefully you do okay, and hope you have a great day. Take care.